I got the opportunity to visit Japan with a friend, and we decided on our second full day to take a day trip to Kamakura from Tokyo, and in this video I'll share what our experience was like. After coffee and eating some breakfast, we headed to the subway to catch a train to Kamakura, and it's about an hour or so from Tokyo, and after a little confusion about catching the right train to Kamakura station, we finally made it in about an hour and a half. Kamakura is a cool little town on the coast southeast of Tokyo, and probably best known for the Great Buddha, which we'll visit later in this video, and there are some good options for public transportation for getting around, but you can walk to some of the sites from the main train station. So we started heading to the Kamakuragu shrine, which is a little over a mile from Kamakura station, but stopped for another round of coffee at Bread It Be Bakery, and one thing we noticed in Japan was an abundance of coffee shops and bakeries. As we continued our trek from the train station to Kamakuragu Shrine, we didn't notice many other tourists in the area, and you're definitely going to encounter a lot of tourists at the more popular sites, so I recommend exploring off the beaten path if you can to experience Japan that you otherwise may not have the chance to. You may find some hidden gems along the way, and also get to create some memories that aren't shared with every other tourist. We spent some time looking around at Kamakuragu Shrine, which was built in the late 1800s. I think every sign here was in Japanese, which we generally saw signs in both Japanese and English just about everywhere else. And this is probably one of the few places where we really didn't experience many other tourists. It was a calm and peaceful area that we got to explore without really having to worry about finding the right spot for a picture or having to weave our way through the crowds. And after we finished checking out the shrine and taking some photos, we left for our next destination. After getting yelled at by a local duck, we decided to head to the bamboo forest in Kamakura, which is about 6/10 of a mile from the Kamakuragu shrine, and there was basically no one around when we were walking through the neighborhoods on the way to the bamboo forest, which was definitely not the case throughout the rest of our trip. We came across some stairs on the way to the bamboo forest, which ended up being the entrance to the Sugimoto temple, but after straining our necks to see how far the stairs went up, we decided to pass. In hindsight, I wish we would have visited, but there's so much to do in Japan, and unless you have unlimited time, you're not going to see everything. We arrived at the Hokokuji temple to see the bamboo forest, and this bamboo forest is like a mini version of the more famous one in Kyoto. And here there weren't many tourists around, at least during our visit, which made it more pleasant. As we made our way to the entrance, we admired how well the surrounding gardening was maintained, and this was common at all the shrines and temples we saw in Japan. After paying a small entrance fee, we entered the bamboo forest located behind the temple's main hall, and there were some shallow caves carved into the hillside, but it was a little bit too bright to get a good shot of them. And there was even a tea house inside the bamboo forest towards the end of the trail for a small fee, but we did not partake. And we took our time walking through the forest while taking photos, and although it's a small bamboo forest, it's still a breathtaking sight to see and definitely worth visiting if the crowds aren't too large. After a bit of a walk to the bus stop from the bamboo forest, we caught the bus back to Kamakura station and were getting pretty hungry since it was close to 1 p.m. and opted for something local and found a spot near Kamakura station called McDonald's. My buddy tried 3 different burgers, including this cheese double cheeseburger, and I went with the shrimp fillet, and as you can see, the portion sizes aren't super sized like in the US, and the shrimp fillet tasted like you would expect. It was pretty tasty, but nothing to rave about. After leaving McDonald's, we caught the train to head to the Great Buddha, which is about a 5-minute train ride and a 10-minute walk. And while walking there, we saw a stark reminder that we are on the Japanese coast. And there are a lot of shops and restaurants on the way to the Great Buddha, and while here I purchased a few small souvenirs. When you head through the entrance to see the Great Buddha, make sure you don't drink the water. Now I've seen the Great Buddha in several videos, so I knew what it was going to look like. However, it was still an incredible experience seeing it up close and in person, and I felt this is my first time truly seeing the Great Buddha, and I definitely recommend visiting if you decide to visit Kamakura. And unlike the visit to the Kamakuragu shrine, there are definitely more tourists here. And one thing I didn't know was you can go inside the Great Buddha for about a cost of 500 yen, and I think they only took cash, which is not uncommon in Japan, so make sure you have plenty of yen on you at all times. And to head inside the Great Buddha, you'll head up a very narrow staircase. And once I was ready to leave, I had to wait a few minutes before I was able to head back down the staircase. Up next, we decided to check out the Hasedera temple, but stopped for a snack at Uni Coffee Roastery, where I had a smoked salmon and cream cheese sandwich. And one thing to consider in Japan are the restaurant reviews, such as 3.5 out of 5 stars. Take them with a grain of salt, and we noticed some amazing reviews of places, but the person may have only given it 3 out of 5 stars. After finishing up the afternoon snack, we resumed our journey and headed to the Hasedera Temple, a Buddhist temple that opened in the early 700s that overlooks Kamakura. And on our way to the temple, we passed more souvenir shops, places to get snacks, and a few small restaurants. Everything at the temple was well maintained, just like everywhere else in Japan. And just like everywhere else in Japan, there were very few trash cans and recycle bins. And with it being late February but on the coast, the trees were starting to bloom, and you can definitely see why this is a popular tourist destination. After getting some photos and admiring the garden area, we decided to make the journey up a series of stairs to see what was at the top. And just like in most other places in Japan, you walk up the left and down on the right side. And at the top of the stairs, there was a snack shop and of course more vending machines, and also a fantastic overlook of Kamakura. We snapped some photos here and also checked out a small museum, but unfortunately, if you want to see what it's like, you'll need to visit yourself since you're not allowed to take photography or videography inside the museum. And that was true for a lot of shrines and temples. And I think here it only cost a few hundred yen to visit, so it was pretty inexpensive. And we found some more stairs and decided to see what's up there too. And after obviously not being out of breath, we made it to the top and found an even more spectacular view of Kamakura and the sea. As we were heading back down to make our way to the train station, something caught our eye, and we found the Bitten Katsu Cave and decided to see what it was all about. And this cave seemed to be overlooked by the majority of the tourists here, since it was kinda hidden away. And as we made our way through the journey of the cave, you're gonna have to duck down through parts of it, since the ceiling is pretty low once you get past the first section of the cave. And thankfully it was well lit and well paved to allow for easy access once inside. It's just a bit uncomfortable having to kind of crouch and walk at the same time. And if you do visit the Hasedera temple, make sure and seek this cave out, otherwise you'll probably walk right past it. After leaving the Hasedera temple, we decided to head back to Kamakura station, but first it was time to try Bakari Sweat, which is basically like a watered down lemon lime Gatorade, but in a good way. And I purchased this from a vending machine at the train stop, and like I've said before, vending machines are just about everywhere in Japan. So after replenishing my electrolytes, we caught the train back to Kamakura station and headed to Komachi Street, a famous shopping street about a quarter of a mile or so from Kamakura station. We walked around the street for a bit and tried a couple snacks, but we didn't walk all the way down the street since it seemed like a lot of similar shops and restaurants, and we aren't really shoppers and we're getting pretty full from all the food we've eaten so far. So we decided to head back to our hotel in Tokyo and rest up some since we were tired from all the walking in Kamakura and from the jet lag. Now I definitely recommend Kamakura, and if I came back, I'd visit more of the shrines and the temples we didn't visit during our first time here. I would also give myself more time to rest and relax at maybe a coffee shop or a cafe, or even at one of the shrines and temples, since you're definitely going to get a lot of steps in visiting all the sites in Kamakura. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and maybe it'll help you if you're planning a day trip here from Tokyo. So please let me know what your thoughts are in the comments, and like and subscribe.